You are listening to the Fine Food and Healthy Living Asia podcast,
where we talk about fine food and healthy living throughout Asia.
So let's get started. Hey everybody, Ian and Todd here.
Welcome to the Fine Food and Healthy Living Asia podcast.
If this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The Fine Food and Healthy Living Asia podcast is produced every week for your enjoyment, and show notes are found on our Facebook page.
Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram, or on my blog, toddinasia.com. That's Todd with 2 D's in Asia.com.
All links are in the show notes. Now, let's get started. Welcome to this week's podcast. Today we have none other than the owner and editor of Cravings magazine, Krishy. Welcome, Krishy. Thanks for coming on the show. And Todd, my co-host, is here too.
Hello, Ian. Nice to see you again, as usual. And Krishy, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
So, Krishy, your magazine, Cravings, it's all about food. You have a passion for food.
I do.
How did you get into creating your own magazine?
Well, I started out writing when I was very much younger, and I didn't quite know that it was food that I wanted to write about until I started working for Wine and Dine magazine in Singapore. Even then, I was doing something more design related for their interior design magazine, and I was cross-writing for their food magazine every now and then. But prior to all of this, when I was in school, in secondary school and stuff, I loved to be in the kitchen. I loved to experiment with food, bake and cook and stuff. So food writing, I suppose, at that point just came naturally to me when I started writing about food and writing about like restaurants and the food in restaurants and what I thought about them, critiquing them basically. And then in 2014, just before 2014, the end of 2013, I was thinking there are so many food magazines out there in the market in Singapore, because dime a dozen, but they all discuss food on a level where many locals or many people who belong to a certain income demographic can't quite reach up to it. We're talking about your fine dining restaurants, your expensive caviar, oysters, etc. Nobody really talked about sambal fish, which is very popular here, ikan bakar. I mean, people would assume that locals know about it because it is a local delicacy after all, but nobody really talks about it. Nobody really tells you how to prepare it at home. So I felt that food was made to be almost unapproachable at that point. And I came up with the idea for Cravings, and I did it into like a print magazine to be distributed for free, because let's face it, who pays for information now?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And at the same time, I thought the novelty of print can be saved with a free food magazine if people are going to take it, read it, flip through it. And I also made it A5, so it's handbag size, as I like to call it. Yeah, so you just take it, you put it into your bag, and then you read it. And
really great if you're on the MRT or something like that.
Yeah, so and I covered things like not just food reviews, but recipes, how to cook them, and a section I like to call How to Eat, where you tell people what's in the food that you put into your mouth and what can it do for you, what you should.
So a health sort of.
Yeah, there was a health perspective.
Yeah.
So it makes everybody a more informed consumer, I think.
Excellent. So that must not have been inexpensive, putting together your own print magazine. How did you pay for that?
Out of my own pockets.
Out of your own pocket?
Out of my own pockets. And the well ran dry at the end of the year. So, yeah, which is expected, I think, in the magazine industry, especially in such a small country where competition is really stiff.
Very stiff, yeah. So then that's when you converted to the online version?
When I did release the first issue as a print, I also had a digital edition. I also made it into an app at the same time, because I thought it was a smart move. Because at 2014 January, when I released the first issue, looking forward, I didn't know how long I could sustain the print. And in Singapore, print really does have a presence for the locals. Not that many people go download apps, but they do pick up magazines, especially if they're small and tiny, like mine was, easy for them to pick up. So for that year, what I look at it as is like a good publicity runway for me to get people on the app. So what I did was I put advertisements in the print to promote the app with the idea that eventually if I do go into the app, solely into the app, then this would work, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
And when was
fantastic.
it started? 2014?
14.
Yeah. And now how many subscribers do you have?
18,000.
Wow.
18,000.
Yeah.
That's
Very
Yeah,
impressive.
that's the number that I got December 2017.
Wow, that's great. So that was your Christmas issue.
A Christmas
December.
issue, yes,
Yeah.
December
I
2017.
read that issue cover to cover. Ian's mentioned in that issue, nice article about Ian in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic article.
So you have, I noticed reading, you have quite a few recipes, and I'm sure over the years you put together. Well, where do you get your recipes?
I try to create the recipes as much as possible on my own.
On your own?
But
in
that's
your
because
kitchen?
I cook almost every day.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, there are days where I don't want to cook and I just make a tuna sandwich for dinner. I think
Something
everybody
simple.
has those days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do try to, like, I set aside days where I test out recipes, etc. And recipes over the stove tend to be a little bit more easier to develop than the ones that go into the oven.
So
Like
baking
cakes,
or
yeah.
so cooking,
baking recipes and stuff, I normally work with clients or work with restaurants, and recipes that, like main dishes, like dinners and everything,
Yeah.
I tend to create.
Are there any specific favourite ingredients you like working with? Whether it's seafood or different meat dishes or maybe a certain cuisine?
Well, as a personal choice, I like seafood very much, so I eat a lot of seafood, and I stay away from. I know it's unpopular opinion, but I like chicken breast. Like people go for the thighs, they go for the wings. I always go for the breast because I think you get more value for your money because you get a lot more meat.
Yeah.
And I don't do game, so these are the sort of meats that I stick with.
I noticed in your Christmas issue you had roasted
chicken, yeah.
instead of the traditional turkey or ham. Yeah.
That was a practical thing because I don't invite that many people. I have like 6 people at most at any one given party. I don't want to kill myself with 12 people. I think that's crazy. So, and for 6 people, I think a decent size, like 1.5 kilo chicken is enough. If you're going to cook pasta and roasted vegetables on the side, they're going to be full anyway.
Of course.
So one of the reasons people don't like the breast so much sometimes,
It gets dry.
it gets dried out.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
What's
My
your-
friend once told me it's like chewing on paper. I can't believe you're eating it.
Well, what's your tip for cooking the breast meat that doesn't dry out like that?
Well, it's the same treatment that you do with beef. Once you cook it, you cover it, you tent it with foil, and you let the beef absorb some of the moisture. You do the same thing with chicken breast. And when you cut it after that, like after 5 minutes of letting it be that way, it's nice and juicy. Another way is when you roast it in the oven or when you bake it. If you don't cover it with foil, the moisture dries up very quickly.
Cover
So you
So
cover it with foil.
essentially, you're almost steaming it as you're baking it as well because it locks in the moisture. Yeah.
Yeah, in a way. And the chicken is actually very watery, so it releases a lot of water when you cook it. So when you cover it with foil, it keeps the water from evaporating, and eventually the chicken absorbs it's like a sponge once it's cooked, so it absorbs the liquid back in. That's where I get all the flavors.
Good tips.
Yeah.
Good tips from Krishy. Yeah.
That's for sure.
I have cooked a lot of chicken breast, I must tell you.
Nice.
A lot of friends to convince, so no choice.
Yeah, no, to be honest, I use it all the time at home. In Australia, you get these massive packs, 1 kilo packs of chicken breast.
Oh, yeah.
But over here, 250 gram packs
Yeah.
is what is typical.
Oh, yeah.
But it's been good for me because it means that I'm trying to restrict how much meat I eat because I think we eat way too much in Australia, and
Oh, yeah. Well, you got all that beef roaming around.
that's for sure.
It's easy to do.
Yeah.
How do you come up with your content for your magazines? Because it's
That's a
one-man show over here, and
It is,
there's a lot of content. Each issue is kind of jam-packed full of everything, really.
Yeah. So I have a digital magazine which comes out 4 times a year, and I have a website as well. So what I try to do with both these platforms is on the website, I try to make the content a little bit simpler because people are not looking to read lengthy articles when they go onto website, as opposed to the digital magazine, which is like a full magazine. Like the articles are like 2,000 word long, stuff like that. And it comes from a place of passion because, like you said, it's a one-man show. And if I didn't like what I was doing, I wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah, so with the food stuff, especially for the digital magazine, which is really heavy, I do a lot of research. I speak to a lot of experts in the industry, in the field, pertaining to what it is that I'm writing about. I'm always in the library reading about one thing or another about food. I don't have much of a life, but the library will tell you stories about
You
my
do
Saturday
travel,
nights.
I've noticed.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I do like travel.
Yeah.
Especially within the Asian region.
Yeah. Tell us about some of the travels you've had.
Well, most recently, I came back from my trip to Bangkok. I go to Bangkok very often, I must say.
Great
I really
city.
love the food. It's so vibrant. Just the energy in the city is amazing.
Yeah.
But every time I go to Bangkok, there's something new for me to do. And this time around, I did Kanchanaburi, which is about a 3-hour drive from the main city of Bangkok. And it was very interesting because you learn about the Japanese occupation and how they crossed over in Thailand and what they were doing with the POWs.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a completely it wasn't a food angle at all. It was really a travel thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I do travel based on food.
Yeah.
Reviews that I read, it has to be good food. If
Sure.
not, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then, you incorporate it into your business too.
Yeah.
And you grew up in Singapore,
Yeah, born and bred.
born and bred.
Do you have any other like contributors that do articles as well in the magazine, or?
I
Yeah.
do. I mean, officially you can call them contributors. Unofficially, you call them my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if that's well, it started out this way when I did Cravings. They were like, "This is interesting. You want to write about that? You want to write about this?" And I said, "Hey, you know what? 2 hands. So how about you people go write about it?
Yeah.
Give it to me,
There you go.
and I'll edit it.
Nice.
And I don't actually have to pay for it." So it worked.
It's
Yeah.
amazing what you can get when you put someone's byline on top of an article. Yeah.
But it's not just that. I think it's also people around me have discovered the hidden passion that they have.
Oh, very good.
Writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, or for writing about food, describing it.
So,
etc.
if there's people listening to the podcast today, if they're interested in contributing to your magazine, can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, just go to thecraversguide.com and you can find my email address there. And
Excellent.
just-
Wow.
And I don't have like a contact at cravers.com, whatever. I have Krishy at cravers.com. So
Right.
you write straight to me.
Right
I'm the
to
one
you.
who's reading it.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Now, you also have an Instagram page.
I do.
Excellent. And you do sometimes live stuff, don't you, as well?
I do Instagram stories. I haven't quite done the live thing yet because I don't think my life is that interesting
Okay.
at this point.
Yeah,
But I do Instagram stories. So if you do follow me on Instagram, you can see what I'm doing. Like especially when I'm doing food tastings, because my life is not exactly like your ordinary 9 to 5 person. You know, I go for food tastings every other evening, and then when I travel, I'm doing media stuff there as well, meeting new people, particularly eating new food.
Yeah.
And I think that would be interesting for the people who follow me on Instagram. So I do that.
I have to get you to try some truffles that are coming in May
Oh,
from
yeah.
I like
Western
truffle.
Australia.
You'll have to
I've
get
got
us
a new
all to try
supplier,
that.
so we'll definitely have to
Nice.
get you along.
Yeah.
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 So you have a issue just published in December, the Christmas issue. and
December to Feb this year.
2017, and then the next issue will be coming out in March,
Yes. March.
and that's going to be online and print.
It's going to be online and print
Yeah.
because we are going back into the risky business of doing something in print,
Okay.
but just once a year.
Once a
And
year.
this is going to be like a 2018 food guide in and around Singapore.
Excellent.
And what I'm doing different is that I'm talking about all kinds of food, not just your 5-star restaurants or Michelin star restaurants, but
Right.
places where you can get really good Hokkien mee
Mm.
and really good bak teh, things that locals like and locals would travel for. Like they would travel from one end of the country to another end.
Yeah.
Like I stay in Jurong where they have Boon Lay Pao Nasi Lemak, and my friends in the east know about it. I don't know how, but they
Now,
do.
what is that dish? Can you
It's
say it?
nasi lemak. It's like it's
Oh,
a
nasi lemak.
Oh,
yeah,
nasi
yeah,
lemak.
nasi lemak. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like coconut
Yeah.
Yeah.
milk rice,
So
Okay.
great dish.
Nasi
Sambal.
lemak. Yes.
Yeah,
So-
nasi lemak.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that you've got some famous restaurants over there that cook nasi lemak, do you? Or
Well, yeah,
they come over just for that dish.
yeah. They come over just for that dish. So
Wow.
when you tell people Boon Lay Pao Nasi Lemak, they know what I'm talking about. They just know, and that's the kind of thing that I want to talk about in a food guide.
Yeah.
You talk about restaurants or dishes that are really popular nationally, and people would really want to go to wherever they have it.
So almost it's not just the food; it's food culture that you're talking about as
Correct.
well.
Yeah, there is a culture around food, I think, and I've always said this in whatever I write, that the way to learning about a culture is to eat their food.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if they are feisty people, the food's going to be spicy.
Yeah. Well, it's just amazing to me as a visitor from United States, just the sheer density of restaurants here. I mean, every block it seems is just
We love our
packed with
food.
restaurants. Yeah, you do love your
Yeah.
food. Yeah. So this next issue will have a print version, online version. You also have an app.
Yes, I do have an app. That's where you can access the digital magazine. So
Okay.
it's called Cravings Magazine. You can download it on Android and iPhones.
Excellent.
And if anybody would like to sponsor the magazine, they can contact you easily as well through your
please.
website.
Yes.
How do you sponsor with online sponsorship on your webpage, or how does that work?
You can just write to me. You can email to me, and
Okay.
then different clients have different needs. Some of them are okay with just an ad. Some of them would like you to talk about their product
Sure.
to educate the reader.
Yeah.
So it depends on what they need and where they stand in terms of budget and stuff. So it's best to have like a discussion with them to find out what they want.
Okay, yeah,
Excellent.
fantastic. So you're tailor making the advert or what they need.
Yeah, because I mean we are in 2018. We need to change the world of advertising to maybe tailor it to every specific client, because each person has different needs. So you want to figure out a way to feed the need in the best way possible, and at the same time communicate to their customers who happen to be my readers.
And you mentioned healthy, articles about eating healthily. What kinds of trends do you see going on in Singapore in that regard?
I think people are becoming more conscious about things like food coloring, preservatives, the amount of sugar that they're consuming. I think as a society we're becoming healthier today. So that's the sort of angle that I am structuring my articles to feed to this group of people who don't just want to eat salads every day, but they want to know exactly what's in their salad. Like, if they're going to eat olives, what's the olive going to do for them, etc.
Excellent.
People are becoming a lot more savvy when it comes to food and what's in it.
I blame Google. I mean, you can just Google everything and you can find it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, as gluten-free myself, and I've talked about this before, but looking for clean ingredients, non-chemically, saturated,
Organic stuff.
more organic things. Yeah, I'm very interested in that. You had a nice article in one of your issues about gluten-free eating.
Yes,
Kind of pros and cons.
Yes,
of gluten-free.
yeah, and why people should be eating
yeah,
gluten-free and why
right.
why they should.
So I think it's great that you're introducing that to your magazine. Have you gotten any feedback in terms of that particular article or any others in terms of people learning about healthy food options?
Yeah, people do write to me, and it's interesting because of the number of readers we have now. People write and they say, "Could you please cover this? I want to know more about this." Like, thank you for your article about gluten-free stuff, because now I know that it's not just a diet fad. It's pertaining to people who have a certain disease,
Right.
and they have to respond to it with a gluten-free diet.
Yeah.
So it's about educating the people who read the magazine.
Yeah, excellent. So traveling, writing, food, any other hobbies or interests that...
I think I'm kind of full, don't you?
Yeah, I can imagine.
I've got my hands
I
full.
think you're pretty
Yeah,
pretty
sleeping
busy.
is a good hobby, I think.
Sleeping's great. Yeah, I like that too.
So
Yeah.
before we sign off, we have to ask what's in the next issue. What can people be looking forward to? Have you got some really fascinating articles coming up?
This issue, which is going to be the 2018 food guide, it's not going to be so heavy on articles as it is on places where you can go and eat. But what we're doing that's unique to this issue is that we're not just going to tell you where to find the best laksa, we're also going to tell you how to cook it at home.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's going to come with some recipes.
That's terrific. So when you talk about the laksa, I've seen laksa recipes. Sometimes they're quite complex.
Yeah.
Will it be an easier way to do it?
Absolutely. I can't do complex. I don't like to do recipes that have more than 10 ingredients.
Yeah.
Because by the
I
time
like
I hit
that.
the 11th ingredient, I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
I'm done. Yeah, so something really short, sweet. And I believe in bottled sauces and pastes. Like,
Sure.
I will just go to the shop, pick it up, and if it makes my life easier, welcome into my home.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Well, that's terrific. We're really looking forward to the
Yeah,
next
me
issue.
too. Yeah, I downloaded your app.
Wonderful.
And
Thank you.
I'm a subscriber too, so
Thank
I'm looking
you.
forward to that. Anything else, Krishy, that you would like to mention?
read Cravings.
Yeah.
That's all I
There
want to
you
say.
go.
Fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for being on our show today.
No, thank you for having me. It's been great.
And for those that are listening, the reason why we have a lot of background noise, we're actually at the local in Singapore, which is a great little restaurant. Great to see some local food.
Very
But-
nice place, real comfy.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of background noise, so I apologise for that. But thanks again, Krishy, for popping onto the podcast.
Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Thank you.
If you're enjoying the Fine Food and Healthy Living Asia podcast, please consider supporting us by going to our homepage at www.finefoodandhealthylivingasia.com and making a donation.
We are beginning a new way to support the show by subscribing as a loyal member. Another option on our homepage at finefoodandhealthylivingasia.com. There are options to choose for the level of support you wish to give.
We will always make our podcasts available for free and appreciate your patronage to be able to do so.
If you subscribe with iTunes, please remember to give us a 5-star rating. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and then give us a 5-star rating. For other subscribers on Google Play, Spotify, or any other aggregators, please rate us there. Once again, thank you for listening to the show.